Hey everyone. So, at the posting of this video, I've officially been in therapy for 2 years consistently. When I first walked into therapy, I wasn't doing great, and it wasn't because I was trying to optimize my life. I'd actually just ended a relationship of mine, and it was a really tough experience. And I had hit a point where I'd had enough of my own patterns. Today, I'm a fundamentally different person than I was 2 years ago, and it's all due to the work that I've put in therapy. So, in this video, I'm going to share what I've learned from 2 years of therapy because I genuinely believe that what I'm about to share has the power to change your life in the way that it did mine. Let's dive in. So, here's something that I've thought a lot about actually. I think there's this catalyst problem that occurs when it comes to therapy. As I just mentioned, I went to therapy because I had hit a breaking point. I ended my relationship and I was very low. I was reflecting and I realized that it doesn't have to be that way. I think most people do end up in therapy because of some major life moment like a breakup, a loss, grief, some major life challenge. But what I really wish is that people arrived to therapy because they simply wanted to, because they were open minded or they were curious, and because they understood that sometimes growing as a person requires outside help. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you don't have to be broken to show up to therapy. You just have to be willing. I'll explain a little bit more of that later on in the video. One thing that I definitely want to talk about in this video is what therapy is. I think people have a general idea of what it is, but after 2 years, I've developed my own definition through reading and through the experience of therapy. And I think it's one that is quite unique and helpful to understand what the experience could be like. So, when I first started therapy, I didn't really know what to expect. But the most surprising thing that changed everything for me was this: therapists are story editors. Think about it. We all walk around with these stories in our head. We construct these narratives that help us to understand why things happen to us, what people think about us, who we are as people, why we deserve certain things, and so on. And we actually believe these stories. And then once we believe these stories, we make decisions based on them and they shape who we are as people. What's wild is that we don't really ever question those stories. But if you show up to therapy, a therapist will sit across from you and help you edit those stories. Thinking about it from this perspective, why wouldn't you want the opportunity to edit some of the stories, especially if these stories aren't serving you or they aren't supporting your growth as a person? If I were to ask you, tell me about how your life is going right now, everything that you would say would represent the spotlight that you have on your life, and that's okay. But that spotlight is limited. But a therapist can sit across from you and help you examine your past. They can ask you questions, they can mirror things back to you, they can help you reflect. And through that process, you widen the spotlight that you have on your life and you see things that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. We all have blind spots. And unless you have a person that's sitting there helping you to see more than what you're capable of, then you're going to kind of stay with this limited view of your life. So, this experience of sitting with another individual who's trained and who's professional is a very empowering one because you can revisit these stories, determine if they are serving you, if they're aligned with who you are, and then edit those stories. Moving forward, those stories can help you in different ways. Essentially, what you're doing is you're rewriting the meaning that you ascribe to those stories. To me, that's not weakness at all. That's a sign of courageousness. So now that I've sat with the same therapist for 2 years, shout out to my therapist, I've changed in two major ways. The first is in a new way to think. So if I ever encounter a challenge, conflict, something that I am struggling with, this new way of thinking means I am approaching the situation from different angles, angles that I didn't even see before. A question that I'm asking myself is, what is my role in this? What is my part in this? And I was able to develop that line of thinking because I paid really close attention to the questions that my therapist was asking, and I paid attention to the way that we were examining these situations together. It was like a new lens to view situations in my life, and I internalized that lens and then was able to use it out in the world by myself. And so when I continued with that new lens, that new line of thinking, I was then able to analyze all of these situations before therapy, before going into a session. I showed up, I shared everything that I'd already analyzed through this lens, and I had already covered so much more ground. And in a way, since I was able to do so, that allowed me and my therapist to go even deeper on situations and to analyze things that I maybe didn't have time for, that I had missed when I was doing my own analysis. So in sum, therapy helped me to think about my life in a new and different way. And that's a skill that I carry with me everywhere. The second way that therapy has changed me is in helping me to develop a new relationship with my emotions. So before therapy, I used to treat negative emotions as that negative. And as a result, I would try to suppress them or I ignore them. And I realized that it wasn't serving me in the best way that it could. Now I pay attention to those emotions because they're cues, they're signals, and ultimately they provide me information about what I'm experiencing. So, for example, anger used to be an emotion that I didn't really have a good relationship with, but nowadays it's a signal that maybe my boundaries are being crossed, or maybe that something important to me isn't being respected. So, as I was improving my relationship with my emotions, I realized something important. In order to heal, you have to feel. And in order to feel, you have to heal. It's a symbiotic relationship. And it's been a beautiful one where I have the experience where I can lean into my emotions and it's helped me to grow as a person. And growing as a person has also helped me to reconnect with my emotions. So, why is this important? Well, if you want to fully experience your life, the joy, the connection, the love, you need to be able to experience pain. And experiencing pain is just part of the process of being human, part of the process of having a relationship with your emotions. And therapy taught me that. I'd like to tell something to my past self. So, if I'm thinking about myself as I showed up to that first therapy session, a lot goes through my mind. I think about how low I was and how desperate I was to break free of my own patterns, to change, to grow. But this is what I would tell myself. I would tell myself, you are exactly where you need to be. I'm proud of you. And if you stay committed, you will grow into the person that you want to become. All you have to do is stay committed. And if you're watching this and you're on the fence about starting therapy, or maybe you stopped and you're unsure if you should continue, I'd also like to say something to you. Therapy can be scary. It's challenging. It's going to take a lot of time and effort and energy, but it is one of the most rewarding journeys that you will ever take, and it will completely open up your world. I truly believe that all of us are walking around with things that are unresolved inside of us. And it isn't until you resolve those things that you give yourself the opportunity to live the life that you deserve. A life where you get to share the love that's inside of you and put it back out into the world. So to conclude, 2 years completely blew by. It's absolutely wild for me to sit here making this video, reflecting and talking about the fact that I've been doing therapy for 2 years consistently, thinking about who I was when I first started therapy, who I am today, who I still want to be years from now. The job is not done. And I have no plans to stop therapy. I'm kind of addicted to this feeling where I know I have time carved out to speak to a therapist, to a professional. And in between those sessions, whatever may happen, I know that I'll have space to just talk about it, to figure it out, to learn from those experiences so that if and when I continue to go through those experiences, I'm handling them better and I'm becoming the person and the man that I want to be. Therapy isn't some type of destination. It's a practice. And just like anything else you put time into and you're consistent with, it'll compound over time. I recently made a video about the triple workout, which is a mental, physical, and a spiritual workout that I do daily. Check it out right here if you're more interested in that. If this video resonated with you, please share it with someone that might need to hear it at this very moment in time. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.